At InDigital, we know the public safety professionals hold themselves to a high standard. In fact, standard doesn't do it justice. In over 25 years working alongside you, carrying millions of calls over our IP networks, your dedication has inspired us. That's why our ESI Net goes beyond industry standards, not only i3 compliant, but designed to adapt to future development for a network you can count on when it matters most. Learn more at indigital.net.
Have you ever met a 911 professional and asked, what's the worst call you've ever taken? Well, here's your answer. I heard your last breath the night you flipped your four-wheeler. I tried to call you the day you committed suicide by driving your car into a tree. Blue face, cold to the touch. I helped you with CPR after you found your infant face down, not breathing. It messed me up. I did everything I could, but it wasn't enough. You were with me from the beginning, Grandma. 27 years later, I took the 911 call when you died. How fitting to be there for me in the beginning, and I was there for you in the end. I miss you, Grandma. I am 911. This is but a glimpse into the world of emergency dispatch. But what is it really like to answer a call during someone's nightmare? What is the impact on the first responder answering the call? From Titletown Publishing, and available on Amazon or where you purchase your favorite books and ebooks. Imagine listening. Your worst day is our everyday. If Within the Trenches has ever taught you something, open your eyes to what it is like to be a 911 dispatcher, or has inspired you to become one, then help support us and join our Patreon. Get exclusive bonus content, one-of-a-kind swag, discounts on merchandise, ad-free early access to new episodes, and much more. To join, please visit patreon.com/WTT podcast. And if you're an industry partner, we have something for you as well. And now, for the show.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned. Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and this is going to be episode 519 of Within the Trenches, True Stories from the 911 Dispatchers Who Live Them. This episode is sponsored by InDigital, a leader in next-gen core services, and a big shout-out to patrons of the podcast and Facebook subscribers. As always, thank you so very much, but especially all of you who are currently watching, listening, supporting, and sharing. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm jumping in here really quick because this is going to be the follow-up to the Imagine Listening session from last week. This is the open mic portion of that session, and all of these stories were recorded in Oklahoma at the Oklahoma conference, and it was an excellent time. The stories you're going to hear, oh man, sometimes when I'm in there for open mic and we're sharing some of these stories, I just think, huh? Like, this really happens? And it does. You can't make this stuff up. So it was an excellent time, and I thank you all for being there. And just without further ado, let's jump right in. This is going to be the open mic portion of the Imagine Listening session that was out at the Oklahoma conference. And this is going to be open mic. This is where we share the lighter side of dispatch. So enjoy episode 519 of Within the Trenches podcast.
Dispatch.
There is no one over here to cook our lunch. We are waiting for our lunch, and there's no one here to cook our lunch.
All right, calm down. Where are you at?
The group home. Now, what are you going to do?
We'll get some help over there for you, okay?
Welcome to Open Mic, where we visit the lighter side of dispatch, because laughing is good medicine. Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and we are here for Open Mic Live, part of the podcast. We just finished up a very powerful Imagine Listening session, but now we're going to share the lighter side of dispatch, and we're going to share some of the funny shit that happens. But I'm not here alone. I'm here with a live audience. Let's hear it. I always love that part. It is so fun. So, I'm just going to jump right in for this last portion of this. Who has a funny story that they would like to share? Oh man, look at this. Here we go. Remember, it takes one story for all of them to go downhill, and you already made a face, so we'll see what happens.
I mean, this one's really relatable. So we all know how fun it is to take a call on 911 and you have a child that's talking to you and they're like, "But what are you doing?" I said, "But I need to talk to your mom. This is 911. He said, "No, thank you." I said, "Yes, I need to talk to your mom. I need to talk to your dad. I need to talk to your grown-up. This is important." He said, "I'd rather play a game." And of course, I'm sitting there thinking, they're calling from a disconnected cell phone. I don't have an address. I don't have any information. I need to get an adult on the phone. And of course, I have small children. Small children like to scream. They like to yell. What gets mom's attention faster than a child screaming as loud as they can? So I told him, I said, "Okay, you want to play a game? How old are you?" He said, "I'm 4. I said, "Oh, you are so big. I want to play a game. We're going to see who can scream the loudest, but you're going to go first." He said, "No, I don't want to do that." So I tell him, I warn my partner in the room, I said, "Listen," I said, "I'm about to yell, so I'm not going to be loud. We don't have anything going on, but I'm trying to get this kid to get somebody's attention so I can make sure they're not there by themselves." This child screamed so loud on 911, I could hear the footsteps of his mother running to him across the house. "What are you doing? What are you doing?" He said, "Mom, I'm just playing a game with the phone lady." So, if you ever have a child on 911 and you can't get a parent, play a game. Tell them to scream.
Very nice. Well done. Man, if I ever end up going back in a dispatch, I have to remember that. That's good. Yeah, good trick there. Anybody else have a story they would like to share? Oh, over here. Get my steps in to date.
All right, so we have a lieutenant. He's passed now from a brain tumor, but he was a great, amazing, wonderful guy. And he was telling us, I'd been on nights for about 2 years, right when I started, and he's like, "Yeah, I went to a call one night. Someone reported a lady screaming." He said, "I pulled up there, and you pull the car, and you can hear her just at the highest pitch squeal. So he knows she's being killed, and he goes up there and kicks in the front door. It was a house fire. And it was sucking the air into the house, and it blew him back out. So we always pictured him as like, I don't know, the Wile E. Coyote or something like that, with his arms and legs stretched out like this, flying backwards."
Nice. Thank you. Anybody?
A couple of quick little...
Yeah. Yes, please.
Not like full-on stories, but I've had a couple of great people call me. Started dispatching in 2009 in California, so there's plenty of crazies out there. Had a lady call me, say that she was a witch and that she had sharpened teeth and that she needed to be taken back to her coven. And I was like, "Oh, I will get somebody over there to fly you back for sure." In the same instance, had another person call and say that they had inserted some batteries into themselves. And I'm like, "Okay, so you need like an ambulance, somebody to come take you to the hospital?" "No, I need a deputy." And I was like, "Oh, I will send a deputy to you to come take those out of you."
So here's a question. Did you tell the deputy what they were doing?
Oh, I did.
Damn.
I said, the RP's advising that they have batteries inserted in them that they need you to come take out.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. There have been stories that have been shared similar where some of them have said, "I didn't even tell them what they were going to. It was a big surprise." And I think, oh man, can you imagine the look on their faces? I'll say the story really quick and I'll go to someone who has another story they would like to say out loud. But there was a story last week, I believe. I was in Indiana.
and I was doing this session, and this person says they took a call from the jail. They said they needed medical out there because there was an inmate who had stuck something somewhere, and they needed help and stuff. And of course, immediately I go to, oh, it's in the toolbox, and everyone's like, ha ha ha. It was not there. So this gentleman inserted a crayon into his wiener. Right, exactly. And all of us dudes were like, oh no. Like, why? And then the person goes on to say, and then one of my partners, I think it was one of their partners, one of the partners ends up saying, the only question I have was, well, did they take the paper off? And I was like, I don't even want to know. Well, I shared this story live. I do an open mic live every Saturday at 9 on social media, and someone sent a message saying, dude, when you were telling that story, all I could think was, what color was it? And I was like, typical dispatch, man. Like, oh, yeah, still kind of, why? Anyone have a story out loud? All right. I'm glad I have my comfy shoes on, too. There you go.
I'm going to hit a double, a mother and a father story.
Oh, snap.
Separate calls, though. So, in the last 2 weeks, had a father call because his 17-year-old daughter had fainted. And I'm remaining on the call to see if I need to send fire. And the IMSA is going through their questions. And they get to the point where they ask, is she pregnant or could she be pregnant? And the father, in whatever fantasy land he was in, just goes, no, she's 17.
All right. I mean...
And then my first agency, I was in a rural county in Texas. And I got my very first prank call. And I got 2 kids asking me for SpongeBob's number. Couldn't provide that for them. They hung up. They called back another time, just giggled and hung up. The third time, they wanted to order a pizza. So I said, well, this is the end of this nonsense. I'm sending a deputy over there. And this deputy had previous experience working Border Patrol, so his Spanish was pretty good. He gets to the house, knocks on the door, and Mom is surprised to see a deputy at the door. And the best part about it was he goes, listen, I've heard a lot of Spanish in my lifetime. I can understand most of it. He goes, but the anger in her voice and the speed of her Spanish, I could not keep up. Those kids were in trouble.
Oh, for sure. Awesome. Thank you so much. Have you ever been in dispatch and something happens and you feel like, man, I am never going to get another moment like this. I have to take it. I have to take a shot. I need to just say it. Okay, good. I was like, am I the only heathen here? So I'll tell you this really quick. There was one night I was taking a phone call, and this lady, it seemed like I was the one who would get her phone call all the time. She just wanted to speak to somebody. You know, she was lonely. She just wanted to talk. Well, during that time, she falls asleep on me, and she's snoring. And it was that moment that I thought, I am never in real life going to get another chance like this, and I'm just going to go ahead and do it. So I say to her, Annie, are you okay? Are you okay, Annie? And my partners are like, oh, dude. I was like, no, let me go with this. Hold on. Are you okay, Annie? And, oh, I'm sorry. I fell asleep. And I was like, it's okay, Annie. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. So I get off the phone and I stand up and I'm like, huh? Yeah? And my partners are like, dude, why did you do that? I was like, when else am I going to get a chance in real life to do this? I had to take a shot. And damn it, I wish I had that recording, but man, that's one of the most fun things ever in dispatch when you get some of those calls like that. I had another call that I'll share really quick. I ended up taking I'll say right away, domestics are not funny, right? Domestics are not funny. This was a verbal argument, Nothing physical happened. It was just a verbal argument that was going on. But when I answer the phone, I hear, I say, Allegan 911, where's your emergency? And what I hear is, I need help. I was like, oh, what? And I can never remember the name, but they were using one of the machines on their neck so that they could talk. But in my head, and if you are old enough to remember this, a speak and spell, that's what I am envisioning. I'm speaking to a speak and spell right now on the phone. So this person was in a verbal argument with their daughter. They were separated. We had help going over there. I'm talking to this person. I get the name out as Carl. And I keep saying, Carl, over and over and over. By the end of the call, Carl had had enough with my ass. Because Carl ends up saying, my name is not Carl, it's Carol. And right away I'm like, oh no! Like, I'm so sorry, Carol. And she ends up saying, this thing makes me sound like a man, ha, ha, ha. I was like, hell no! We're supposed to remain professional, right? Not that time. I laughed with Carol. I laughed right on the phone. I was like, I am so sorry. And she's like, it's okay. And that was the end of the call. But I thought, dude, for real? Like, that's one I will never forget. Anybody else have one they would like to share out loud? All right.
So this actually happened this last year. We had a new guy move to one of our apartment complexes, and he is very Scottish. And he calls me one day, he's talking about animal control being at this apartment complex, and he starts saying the word cat, car, something. I couldn't figure it out. So I was repeating him, card, car, anything. And he finally said, no, cat. And he literally meows at me. And I was like, oh, cat, I got it. Well, one of my dispatcher friends decided to make a meme after that with Puss in Boots in a kilt.
Nice. Excellent. Thank you.
So after going back and looking, this lady had been calling for 13 years from different towns within our county. And that night she called and she said, the Star people were sending people down to her house and they were putting on invisible suits and they would kill her over and over, and they implanted her with 30 to 40 fetuses at any given time, and they would just take these fetuses out of her and they would make her drive around. And this whole time she keeps spitting, and we're like, ma'am, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I just got to get all the sperm out of my mouth. And I was like, what? So then she says the dog smells like rancid sperm because they've got it all over him too. I was just like, okay, she's asked us for Ghostbusters. She's asked us for Star Wars. I don't know where she's at now, but this lady for 13 years has called about this dog with rancid sperm and these people in star suits. So
she's gone plaid. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Last story here before we wrap it up.
We had a lady that also frequent caller, and usually her complaints were that the maintenance man had made a copy of her key and would come in and then take her keys and steal her car and then park it exactly where it was parked before and then return her keys to her and lock the door behind himself. So we talk to her fairly often, and usually when we call, we just go have an officer make contact with her, check on her. But this particular night, she says, I need to tell you something. And I'm like, okay. And she says, someone's been shot. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, where are they? And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, where were they shot? She's like, I don't know. How do you know they were shot? Well, I had a premonition. And I don't really know if they've been shot. They may or may not have been shot. It was maybe in the left shoulder or the right shoulder, and it may not have happened yet. So we have no idea what's going on. So we send an officer to welfare check. And at that time, the dispatcher I was working with didn't like to sound silly on the radio, which is my favorite thing, more even than call taking. So I get on the radio and send them to her house and say, make contact with so-and-so, welfare check, reference someone who may or may not have been shot in the future or the past or currently in either the left or right shoulder or not at all. She had a premonition. And the officer goes on channel 2 and was like, did she just say premonition? I did. Affirmative. Please go make contact with her.
Damn. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, I have one last story to share with you as we go into the wrap-up of this entire session. I just want to thank you again, all of you, for being here, being in support of each other, and what you do in this profession. Sometimes when you're in dispatch, shit happens. Literally, sometimes. So let me share a story with you. This is something that happened to me, okay? And some of you may have heard this before, some of you may have not. And it's embarrassing, but it's all in good humor, right? So I'm all about it. Even if it's me throwing myself under the bus. So, one night, I'm going into dispatch, okay? The way we did it there at that time, they don't do it like this anymore, but it was 3 12s and a 4-hour. And the 4-hour was always on a Wednesday. So this 4-hour, I was going in from 1A to 5A. I stop at a gas station and looking for something to eat, looking for something to drink. I need to stay awake, right? It's midnight shift. Pick up a 12-ounce can of Red Bull. That'll keep me awake. And I am glad you walked in right as I'm doing this story. This is great. No. I mean, so that you can hear it. Like, this is good. Unless you walk out. I mean, I'm just playing. Anyway, so I end up getting this Red Bull, right? And I'm walking around, I'm looking and looking and looking. And I'm like, I'm going to get that to eat. It was a gas station burrito. Every time I've told this story, I think that's my favorite part, is the reaction like, you stupid. And it was a big one. It was called the Red Bomb. Yes. So I get to dispatch early enough to be able to heat it up and everything and eat and be briefed. Now I thought I was going to be in backup phones, maybe radios, but I'm on main phones. I'm like, all right. It's only 4 hours, right? What can happen in 4 hours? Yeah, tempting fate. So I sit down, destroy this burrito. Like, oh, that was amazing. It was so good. Chug that Red Bull and I am ready to go. Bring on the dispatch night. Get a phone call. Agency south of us. They're chasing someone. So I need to put out a BOL or BOLO, depending on what region you're in, one or the other. Basically, be on the lookout. That's all it is. So I start typing everything in. And as I'm typing everything in, I just, wait, what is going on? I'm like, hell no, this is not happening right now. No. My stomach started getting this bubble gut. It's that, I'm like, no, this cannot be happening right now. And I'm talking to them, right, and I'm typing. And at the same time, I end up typing to my partner and saying, if I need to get up really quick to go use the bathroom, you better pick up the phone, okay? Because I don't know how your dispatch centers are, but at my old center, we have a bathroom inside dispatch, right? Inside the center, and I wasn't about to drop heat there with my peeps. No, I was not going to drop heat there. And then there's one down the hall. So I'm continuing to type, and I'm like sweating over on the other side, to the point that if anybody was over there, they'd probably smell like beef or something. Like, that's how bad I was sweating. It was coming out of my pores, and I'm freaking out. My stomach is just talking to me. Put him on hold, get up. I'm like, you need to take the call. I got to run down the hall. So I haul ass running as fast as I can, fast as you can see smoke. Hopefully smoke, nothing else. Because as I'm praying, cheeks stay together and everything. I go do my thing and I come back. I'm like, all right, I'll take the phone back. So I'm on the phone and everything. And again, stomach starts twitching. Now here's the thing, sequels. Right? Movie sequels are the worst sometimes, right? Well, in the shit world, it's the same, all right? And it started bubbling up hard. Like, now it's just like eating at me. And I don't know if you've ever attempted to hold in your gas, but that goes up your back and turns into like a back fart, That's what I'm dealing with over there. It's going off of the ribs like a xylophone. I'm like, oh my God. Put them on hold really quick, stand up. And when I stand up to tell them what I'm going to do, my partner stands up. He's like, you got to poop, dude? I was like, it's not a warrant. You don't have to confirm it. But yes, that's what's going on. So then I haul ass again, do my thing. And when I come back, No one's on the phone anymore. I'm like, yes, it's over. I sit down, everything is okay. Phone rings again, same people. I'm like, what the hell is going on? This person was going into the county and back to their county, in and out, in and out. And all I could think was, put the stop sticks down. I'm going through my own shit right now. Literally. Take this person out. So now, my trilogy of poo at this time, a third time, my stomach starts bubbling and eating at me. And I put them on hold and I stand up. I'm like, I'm not going to make it down the hall. I'm going to go right here. And they're like, what? I was like, not right here. Not where I'm standing at the moment. I'm using this bathroom. And they're like, okay. So I go in. I turn the water on. I turn the fan on. Anything to mask the war I'm about to go into. Because if you've ever watched Dumb and Dumber, you know exactly what I was about to go into. Just screaming for my life. Now I come out. And they're laughing at me. I was a supervisor on duty, and I was like, you're going to laugh at me? I'm going to turn the heat up so you can smell it. I didn't, but I wanted to. Now, years later, I'm on a trip with my family. We're going to Washington State, and we stop in Montana. Go into the gas station. I'm just walking, minding my own business, and I get this weird yet familiar twitch, and I turn around. Shit you not, keyword. Words matter. I look into the cooler and there are Red Bomb burritos next to a display of Red Bull, and all I could think was, screw you, Montana. That's my story. Again, I want to thank you all for being here, for what you do day in and out, part of this thin gold line, the most vital piece of public safety. Every single thing starts with you. Every call you take is another part or addition to your story. Hold your heads up high. Not a lot of people can do this job. And talk to each other. If you're here with a group, say hello to other people. You'll find that you all have something in common. And I think that's one of my favorite things about doing this session too, is that later on, I hear people just talking to each other. And that's what we should be doing. So thank you, all of you. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
There you go. There's the stories from the open mic session, or the open mic portion, rather, of the Imagine Listening session that was out at the Oklahoma conference. As I've said many times before, this is my first time being out there, and everyone was just so much fun and just really passionate about what they do, but also just the hospitality, everything, the people that I met, and it was just an awesome time. If you ever get a chance, head out to the Oklahoma conference. It was excellent. And thank you again to the conference for inviting me, for the opportunity to go out there and present Imagine Listening, as well as open mic, and to all of you who were there in attendance, sharing stories, laughing, joking during the open mic portion, and just being there for each other. Thank you for all of it. I really felt at home, and I hope I get a chance to go back and do it again. So, for those watching and listening, if you have any comments, questions, or you want to be a guest on the show, you can email us, and that's going to be wttpodcast@gmail.com. Once again, that is wttpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us all over social media, and if you want to help support the podcast, you can head over to patreon.com/WTTpodcast, as well as facebook.com/within-the-trenches-podcast/support. And to make it a lot easier for all of you, whether you're watching or simply listening, you can check us out, and that's going to be links.co/WTT podcast. And that's links with 2 I's.co/WTT podcast. You can find everything there, latest episode, where to contact me, where to follow on social media, where to find Imagine Listening. Your Worst Days Are Every Day. Book 1 and Book 2 is currently out for pre-order now on Amazon or any retailer that is out there. And let's blow this out of the water. This is going to be a hardcover book, and it's just going to be immaculate. So I cannot wait for you to get Book 2. Like I said, pre-order is available now. but it launches August 4th of 2024, and it's going to launch at the National APCO Conference in Orlando, which is full circle style because the I Am 911 movement launched just after the National APCO Conference in Orlando back in 2016, and that was on August 24th. And the book 2 is launching August of 24. How awesome is that? So you can find everything on there, as well as where to buy merch, podcast merch, and so many other things. It's all on that site. Again, it is linkswith2eyes.co/WTT podcast. From there, you can watch this on Facebook, YouTube, and X, Twitter, X, as well as LinkedIn Live. And then you can listen 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone, and we'll see you in the next one.